Hello, my name is Charin Lim, an associate of CBCM. We have planned webinar for foreign investors 2020 Chungbuk, which is information sharing session for foreign companies who are considering to expand opportunities in South Korea and provide useful information and business opportunity solutions that Province can provide. Today, I want to talk about the revised foreign direct investment policy of Korea, focused on incentive programs for FDI. And Sarah will explain in the second chapter the business and logistic environments in Chungbuk Province. It will take about 20 minutes in total, 10 minutes each chapter, and we can share the presentation material by email if inquired. First chapter is an introduction to the revised foreign investment policy in 2020. I will explain the overall outline of the investment policy and introduce the Korean government incentive program and the incentive policy of Chungbuk Province. My presentation will follow as shown here. First, we will look at the outline of the Korean foreign investment support system, followed by FDI requirements and types, and incentive types, and at last, the incentive requirements. The key point of foreign investment policy in Korea is to open the scope of the available industry to FDIs as much as possible and provide business environment where leading technology companies can do business competitively in Korea. It also aims at building a market environment that encourages the development of investment companies, at the same time, development of regional economy. Hence, Korea has an active foreign investment protection program that meets international standards, where there is no limit in the overseas remittance of the profit by the investment principal and business activity. Registered FDI firms are protected by the same legal protection as the Korean firms. Furthermore, Korea is creating a business environment for FDIs where leading and top-notch firms can pursue business in Korea through establishment of regional headquarters, R&D centers, so that companies can increase quality of employment and strengthen the development of industrial ecosystem. The minimum requirements for foreign companies wishing to invest in Korea is to invest Korean won 100 million, and at least 10% of the total investment amount must be the foreign investment. Korea allows foreign investment to get into 95% of the receipt industry, and this excludes only few special business fields. The four types of eligible FDI investment types that include: first, establishing a new Korean corporation or acquire a stake in the existing Korean corporation. Second, invest in a long-term loan with a period of more than 5 years. Third is the newly added type, which is to reinvest operating firms on appropriate earned surplus for establishing or expanding a factory. The last type is to participate in the establishment of a non-profit research and development organization. And the assets recognized as foreign investments are tangible assets such as Korean currency or foreign currency cash, capital goods, stakes, listed on foreign stock markets of foreign companies, and domestic real estate owned by foreigners. In addition, intangible assets such as intellectual property rights, such as patents and process technologies, are included in investment assets. Investment assets, except the cash, should go through an asset value evaluation process by authorized monetary valuation agency. There are four major incentives for foreign investors. The first is cash grant support, which the amount of support is determined by industry classification, investment type, and job creation effect. In particular, from this year, by the newly applied cash grant program, firms can get up to 30% of the investment amount. In case of high technological firms and for R&D, the upper limit is 40% and 50% respectively. The second is the tax reduction and exemption on acquisition tax and property tax for corporation income tax for core engineers. There are additional incentives that include industrial site provision, rent reductions, employment grants, and training costs. After meeting the FDI registration requirements, the requirements for receiving incentive applications are as follows. For cash grant, which is of the utmost interest, foreign investment should account at least 30% of total investment, and that 30% should not include long-term loan. The requirements for applying for the cash grant program in investing in certain industries such as new growth driver technology, high technology, and high-tech product industries, materials and components industry. Especially investing in the establishment of research and development centers in high-tech fields has been actively promoted. The requirements for tax benefits are different by types and industries. Industrial site support differs in terms of rent provision and rent fee depending on site type or location. Please contact us about the detailed qualification requirements. On this slide, I want to explain key updates of FDI policy revised this year. As mentioned previously, Korean government have increased the upper limit of cash grant for FDI firms. The upper limit for the high-tech industry is adjusted to 40% and to 50% for R&D. Starting this year, Korea has actively expanded the scope of recognized types of foreign investment and revised the law to include the unappropriated surplus of foreign investment companies as FDI for reinvestment in Korea. Therefore, foreign invested companies operating in Korea will be able to receive more incentives. And Korea prioritized the firms that generate large employment. Lastly, it is preferred for companies to establish regional R&D centers and Asian regional headquarters. There are two main preferred industries for applying incentive programs. Firms doing business in this field should pay close attention at this part. First is new growth driver industry and source technologies such as future vehicles, intelligent information, bio and health industry. The other is technologies for materials and production process, directly related to new growth driver industries, for example, material technology and process technology. The firms in this business field will get benefit of getting higher upper limit for cash grant. Here you see further explanation on the cash grant of the incentive programs. As mentioned earlier, the foreign investment portion must be at least 30%, not including the long-term borrowing. Cash grant is provided up to 40% of the investment costs, and in case of R&D, up to 50%. Please see below items which are taken into account for the cash grant assessment by the Cash Grant Review Committee. The procedure for the cash grant program can be summarized into 5 stages. The cash grant is paid through the investment budget of the central government and local government. That means both central and local governments are very important for the selection of companies to award the cash grant and the amount. Hence, it is essential to form a strategic relationship with local governments, which has geographical competitiveness through prior discussions. Today's webinar is designed to enhance mutual understanding between local governments and the leading technological firms. There are several types of tax reduction and exemption programs. For the 7-year reduction program, tax is exempted by 100% for the first 5 years and reduced by 50% for following 2 years. The eligibility is to invest in preferred industries such as new growth drivers, technology, and established firm in some designated location. The second is a 5-year reduction program, of which the tax is exempted by 100% for the first 3 years and reduced by 50% for the following 2 years. Special zones designated by the government to be eligible for tax reduction include Foreign Investment Zone, Free Trade Zone, Enterprise City Development Zone. There are various tax reduction programs such as income tax reduction and exemption for foreign engineers. In the next two slides, I want to explain the incentive program specific to Chungbuk Province. Cash grant target and amount is decided by the negotiation between the central government and local governments. However, the other three incentive programs can be different by the laws of local governments. I will explain Chungbuk's incentive programs on those three parts. Among several taxes, local tax in Chungbuk is reduced for 10 years. For the first 7 years, the reduction rate is 100%, and the next 3 years are 50%. In the case of industrial sites, the site is offered for 50 years, and the rent period can be extended. Also, some industrial complexes of Chungbuk can be provided at low prices or free of charge. Lastly, there are various employment and training subsidies as shown here. Other than the four incentive programs as mentioned previously, Chungbuk has additional incentives which is legally supported in order to promote foreign investment in the province. The first is the Chungbuk Investment Promotion Fund. It is possible to establish and operate the Investment Promotion Fund in accordance with Chapter 3 of the Chungbuk Business and Investment Promotion Ordinance. What that means is that there is a separate financial resource for promoting FDI with the funding amount Korean won 8.5 billion at the end of 2020. The second is fast track of MFDS process, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, equivalent to Korean FDA, which is applied to companies located in Osong High-Tech Medical Complex in Chungbuk. Companies within the complex are considered to have obtained manufacturing and import permits. Additionally, the firms may also be subject to prior examination of medical patent applications. This greatly reduced the time required for the approval of the MFDS and patent applications. The third is Chungbuk Free Economic Zone such as Osong Biopolis and Cheongju Aeropolis. For the firms in the designated zone, broader incentives are provided. This concludes my part of presentation. Thank you for the listening. And if you have any questions or want to get more information on Chungbuk, please contact us by email. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Rieger, an associate researcher at CBCM. This is the second part of the webinar 2020 Chungbuk for foreign investors, which is an information sharing session for foreign companies who are interested in opportunities in South Korea. We share useful information and business opportunity solutions that are provided by Chungbuk Province. The first part of this session explained the foreign investment policy of South Korea and Chungbuk Province. And this second part introduces the geo-economic environment of Chungbuk. First, I will introduce the geo-economic status of Chungbuk's three main industries, which are bio, semiconductor, and battery. Then I will show the geographical benefits of the province. And lastly, I will mention some key support institutions for R&D and industrial development that are located in Chungbuk. On this map of South Korea, you can see all the factories located around Chungbuk Province. All these dots that you see on the map are manufacturing facilities. At CBCM, we are using big data that contains detailed information on factory location, factory size, raw materials, end products, and so on of all factories in South Korea. Because Chungbuk Province is located in the center of Korea, its functional economic area, which is the area that can be covered by car within 1.5 hours, includes 49.5% of all factories in Korea. This means that companies located in Chungbuk are able to form strong business relationships and have close cooperations with almost 50% of all manufacturing facilities in the country. The Chungbuk region is well known for its biotechnology industry, including pharma, medical devices, cosmetics, and more. 57.1% of Korea's bio industry is located in Chungbuk's FEA, its functional economic area. This reflects the Korean government's efforts of promoting Chungbuk as the center of Korea's bio industry. In fact, the Disease Control and Prevention Agency, as well as other government institutions concerned with preventing the spread of infectious diseases like COVID-19, can be found in Chungbuk, making the province a control tower for COVID-19 policies. Thanks to the government's promotion efforts, national and international biotechnology companies are moving their research and manufacturing facilities to Chungbuk. Another important industry in Chungbuk is electronics, especially semiconductor and displays. SK Hynix, Magnachip, LG Chem, and other major semiconductor and display manufacturing companies, as well as component suppliers, are located in Chungbuk. Chungbuk's FEA includes 71.2% of all factories in the electronics sector. This means that companies in the semiconductor and display industry that are located in Chungbuk can have direct relations with over 70% of all related companies in the country. The rechargeable battery industry is also a key sector in Chungbuk. The Chungbuk FEA contains 45% of all factories in the secondary battery industry. LG Chem, HL Green Power, and other national major rechargeable battery production companies have gigafactories in Chungbuk. Companies that produce secondary battery material parts, like SK Innovation and EcoPro, are also concentrated here. Beyond industry clusters, Chungbuk has some other important geographical benefits. Cheongju City, the capital of Chungbuk Province, is right next to Sejong City, which is located in the neighboring province. Sejong is a planned city that has been designated as Korea's administrative capital. The government is relocating ministries and agencies from Seoul to Sejong, and this process will be completed by 2030. A new railway route connects Sejong with not only Cheongju City, but also with the airport and the Osong Bio Valley that are located close to Cheongju. Sejong City is expected to operate as one of the most emerging markets in Korea, and Chungbuk's proximity to this growing market will allow many business opportunities. Chungbuk Province is exactly in the middle of South Korea, and it is the cross point of all major expressways and railways. It is directly connected to all major cities and other industrial clusters in Korea, while avoiding traffic jams that are frequent in the Seoul metropolitan area. Because of this location and transporting network, it is possible to reach any location in South Korea within 2 hours. Chungbuk is also well connected to international infrastructure. The province has its own international airport called Cheongju International Airport, which has flights to all major airports in Asia. And because Korea is a small country, the connection to international ports is no problem despite Chungbuk's central location. This highlights Chungbuk's great connection to international ports. From Osong Station, which is Chungbuk Province's high-speed railway station, it takes 1 hour and 45 minutes to Busan Port, and by expressway it takes 1 hour and 30 minutes to Pyeongtaek Port. Pyeongtaek Port is the port with the highest automobile throughput in Korea and the 4th busiest port in Korea. It is continuously growing and is a target of the government's policy for green energy vehicles. The Korean government has designated Pyeongtaek Port as export hub for green energy vehicles. From this port, vehicles are exported into 60 countries, and the plan is for green energy vehicles to achieve a 25% share of all vehicle exports by 2030. This year, the focus was on expanding the variety to green energy buses, trucks, and microcars. Busan Port is the busiest port in Korea and the 6th busiest port in the world. The yearly throughput reached 457.5 million tons in 2019. Also in 2019, the 5 countries with the highest throughput in Busan port were China, the US, Japan, Russia, and Vietnam. Chungbuk has its own international airport called Cheongju International Airport. Due to its beneficial location in the center of South Korea, and thanks to the well-developed logistic and transport system surrounding it, Cheongju Airport has a huge growth potential. Because of its central location, Cheongju International Airport can provide fast and efficient shipments and services to all parts of Korea. The airport is surrounded by a large number of industrial zones in diverse industries and emerging markets like Sejong City, and therefore the demand in import through Cheongju Airport is growing. The airport is also expected to deliver a major contribution to export, especially in the field of semiconductors, electronic devices, and machineries, which are the top 3 industries of Korea. Because the Korean government designated Chungbuk as a biotechnological business hub, it moved all government agencies relevant to this sector to Chungbuk. Right now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Disease Control and Prevention Agency is very important. Then we have the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, which has the same role as the FDA in the US. And there's a number of other institutes, agencies, support and research centers that work with companies in the biosector. Therefore, companies in this field are especially encouraged to choose Chungbuk Province as a business location, where they have all the support they need. Thank you for watching, and I hope this webinar session was informative for you. If you have any questions or if you would like to receive this information material, please contact us per email at cbcm.